Welcome back. I am Vina. Welcome to Quirky Pineapples. If you're new here, I'm a plant-based recipe developer and food blogger. And as you can see, I'm over here spilling milk all over my counter. This thing is super cute. That's what I get for wanting to use my cute stuff. I bought this, I won't say where I bought it from because it is very cute and I don't want to say that it doesn't work, but yeah, you can see I spilled my creamer all over the place. But yeah, so welcome back to another What I Eat in a Day. Today is really interesting because I'm going to be making my breakfast and my lunch, and then I actually have to leave to go to a brunch, but it is a brunch at a restaurant that is not a vegan restaurant. And those of you who know how it can be a little difficult to find vegan options at non-vegan restaurants. And even if they do have vegan options, that because that's not their main focus to make sure that it is like the best, it isn't always the best. But I'm gonna eat before I go, and then that way if I order something and it's not exactly, satisfactory, then I'm not so disappointed because I'm not sitting there starving. So yeah, but yeah, I just made my coffee. I've been really into coffee syrups lately, which I think a lot of people have been. I just use like a regular oat milk creamer, and then I tend to put my like a macadamia syrup. I found a butter pecan syrup and I thought I was really gonna like it, but I didn't like that one as much. So I kind of skirted back to the macadamia syrup, and it just makes my coffee taste so much better. Because I don't know, people who don't drink regular milk should have a nice tasty coffee too. So yeah, so I'm just gonna enjoy my coffee and then I will see you guys back at breakfast. Okay, so for breakfast, I am going to have like a waffle peanut butter and apple sandwich, which I used to make all the time because it was really easy for me to make for work or at work, because I would just like pop my little toaster waffles into the toaster at work and I'd have my apples all ready to go. But it was just like something really quick and filling. And so I haven't had it in a really long time, so I thought it would be nice to like make one today. Especially since, again, I'm not trying to eat too heavy because, maybe I will like what is being served at the restaurant. So yeah, so I'm just slicing up some apples. I remember actually finding this recipe in I don't want to like super age myself on here, but I found this recipe in like a Cosmo magazine. And so I guess if you're around my age, then you'll be like, oh, like Cosmo. But I used to like subscribe to Cosmopolitan magazine, and it would come to my house. And sometimes they would have like recipes, and they had like healthy recipe ideas in it. And this one was one of them. And so I used to make this with, what is it? Eggo waffles, with Eggo waffles, but obviously like I can't eat those anymore. And so I found these, what are they? The Nature's Path organic gluten-free chocolate chip ones. I actually couldn't find the regular ones, but it doesn't really matter. Like they're all pretty good. I don't always pick up the gluten-free stuff, but those ones are good. And mostly because they're vegan. And sometimes what I notice in the store is that things will be married. If it's vegan, it's gonna be gluten-free. And I think they're just trying to cover like as many bases as they possibly can. Is I'm not gonna hurt myself for y'all in these videos, but yeah. But trying to like cover as many bases as they can. All right, so I got my apples all sliced up. Let me go ahead and toast these up. Ooh, hot, hot, hot. All right, so got my waffles. And I would say if you make this, make sure that you slice your apples really nice and thin. So they still have a crunch, but they're not like, where you're just biting down into a big old thick piece of apple. All right, so peanut butter. I'm really generous with peanut butter, one, because it has lots of protein, and two, I think that sometimes I'm a 10-year-old inside. I just really love like peanut butter and nut butters and things like that. Also, I have a question. When did peanut butter start costing $9? Like, I understand, and when I say I understand, I kind of understand why like almond butter and cashew butter costs as much as it costs. But peanut butter used to be like the easy, cheap option of nut butter. And now it just kind of feels like everything that is like good for you costs $9 or $7. So yeah, I don't know. I've just been noticing that. When I went to buy peanut butter in the store, I was just like, when did peanut butter start costing this much money and why? Like, I'm not okay with that, especially if you want like organic peanut butter from the store. It's just, I don't know. It's just been weird. All right, so got some apples on, and I'm just gonna sprinkle a little bit of cinnamon just for a little extra. And I do kind of want to put some pepitas on for a crunch. I realized that I probably should have put that on top of the peanut butter instead of on top of the apples. So we'll see if they stay. No, they're not gonna stay. I gotta work with them. All right, and then actually, let's do peanut butter on both sides. Because I'm pretty sure that was only maybe like 1 tablespoon of peanut butter anyway. And like I said, I want to get the protein from my peanut butter. Let's see here. All right. Okay. Ooh. Okay. So now I have like this cute little, apple peanut butter sandwich on a waffle instead of like regular schmegular bread, which is really good. I'm not gonna bite into this in front of you guys like I usually do because it is a messy thing to eat. So yeah. So I'm gonna go and enjoy my little waffle sandwich and the rest of my delicious coffee, and then I'm gonna see you guys back at lunchtime. All right, so I'm back and it's lunchtime, sort of. It's a little earlier because we have our brunch that we're going to go to, but I want to eat before I go, which I did discuss a little bit earlier. So I'm just going to make a salad, which I love. In my mind, I was like, it's just going to be a really quick salad, but it's not. It's not going to be a quick salad at all, mostly because I really want to try out toasting my quinoa, and I've never done it before, so hopefully it'll work, and then it'll be a new recipe that can go up on the blog. But I've been seeing people like toast their quinoa and it just looks really, really delicious. And so what I'm making is sort of a Caesar salad, but instead of having croutons and things like that, then I'm going to toast the quinoa. So I'm going to start with that because that's going to take the longest. So I just have my little pan here with some parchment paper, and I'm going to add a little bit of garlic powder. Like I said, I've never done this before, so we'll see how this goes, and a little bit of salt because, you know, we want it to have some flavor. But yeah, I always have like sort of like cooked quinoa or beans and things like that in my fridge. So yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and pour this out. And just as a helpful tip with if you decide to make the breakfast that I had, especially if you're using the same waffles, I would recommend maybe microwaving those waffles instead of toasting them because they're a little bit dense. And I found out sort of the hard way that they can get a little hard. So microwaving them might make them a lot more soft, but they're pretty healthy and delicious waffles. But obviously, like, you could use whatever you wanted to use for that. All right, so I'm just gonna try and like spread these out a little bit. That way it can actually toast, and then I'm gonna toss this in the oven while we make the dressing and the tempeh. So let me throw this in. Oh my gosh. Has this ever happened before where you turn your oven on without looking to see what's inside first? I already have a pan in there, Lord. So let me get my pan out. Jeez. Oh my gosh, please don't do like me. Make sure you check your oven before you turn it on to preheat. All right, so quinoa's in the oven, and now I'm going to try my hand at making another dressing. If you were with me a couple of weeks ago, I made a berry salad where I made my own dressing because I couldn't find a dressing that I like to go with it. And it was actually really, really good. So I highly recommend, if you haven't seen that one, go back, and the recipe for that's in the description box. It was really good salad. But I'm trying to make my own dressing again. So I've got some tahini. We're gonna do 3 tablespoons of tahini. And this one's like a really nice smooth tahini that I get from Whole Foods. Tahini is really hard to, like, it just drips everywhere. Gosh, okay. So about 3 tablespoons of tahini. Of course, now it's like a mess. And, oh, about a tablespoon of yogurt. Let me grab my yogurt out of the fridge. Didn't have that ready. Alrighty. And I really only plan on using this for this, so I'm just gonna dip it in. About a tablespoon of yogurt. Okay. And a clove of garlic. I've been using these little presses and they really come in handy. So I'm just gonna use my garlic press instead of having to use like my cheese grater to like mince the garlic. Oops, sorry guys. All right, so got my minced garlic. I'm gonna need a tablespoon of nutritional yeast. And that's gonna give it that cheesy flavor. I think I might need a little bit more than that. There we go. Some nutritional yeast. I was supposed to put capers in this, but I checked the date on my capers and they expired. So if you were to make this, then you would add about a teaspoon of capers. But yeah, I'm sorry about that. And then a teaspoon of Dijon mustard. All right, shake that up. Dijon. Oh my gosh. It's making the pudding noise. There we go. All right, so about a tablespoon of Dijon mustard. And I'm using Dijon instead of lemon right now because we've sort of developed like an irritation with lemon and lime lately. I think we've just been eating too much. So I'm leaving out the lemon, but you could use lemon instead of Dijon mustard if you want to. And then a little bit of pepper, which I don't have next to me, sorry. A little bit of pepper, and then I'm gonna add the salt after because like I said, we usually like to wait to see how things taste first and then try to add salt to see if it really actually needs it. So let's see. I'm gonna mince it up. Okay. So the fun thing about tahini is that it will seize up sometimes. So I need to add some water to this actually. So let me get some water. Add a little bit of water. And you'll just add like a little bit of water at a time until it loosens up the way that you want it to. And it gets to the right consistency. It's really strange in that way. Because like, if you notice, when I put it in, it was like nice and smooth. And then it's like as soon as you start mixing it, it kind of seizes. Oh gosh, I wish there was a neater way to do this. And it's gonna look like it's not coming together, but like I said, you're gonna add a little bit of water at a time and it will come together. Yep, see, it's already starting to loosen up. There we go. All right, so it took a little bit of elbow grease, but we got there to the consistency that we wanted it. And so now I'm gonna add a little bit of salt. Like I said, you just salt and pepper to taste. So let's see. And I would say I added about a half cup of water, but you may want yours thicker or you may want yours thinner. So you would add, you know, as much as you see fit. Ooh. That's pretty good. I will say more pepper. Ah! And a little bit more salt. And I think then that will be pretty much perfect. Ooh, Yeah, that's good. All right. So I'm gonna put it in the jar here just because it'll be a little easier to pour onto my salad later. And then I'm gonna clean this up a little bit, and then we're gonna make the tempeh while we wait for our quinoa to finish. Okay, so now I'm gonna cook my, not my quinoa, my tempeh. My quinoa has come out of the oven, so I'm just letting that cool off. And so now I'm just gonna make my tempeh. I just have the Light Life tempeh bacon. You could always, there's some really great recipes out there for like a smoky tempeh. So, I mean, if you wanted to make it yourself, to make it a little less processed, you definitely could. But remember, I don't demonize convenience foods around here. They come in handy, especially since, you know, today specifically, I'm in a bit of a hurry because we have to be at our brunch at about noon, I think. So yeah, so just trying to get something in my belly before I leave the house, but also low-key trying to develop a recipe at the same time. So I think I'm only gonna do about 2 or 3 pieces of this. 4 pieces of this will give you about 15 grams of protein, which is pretty nice. But I also, you know, since I'm putting the quinoa on it, I'm not super concerned about that because the quinoa alone is going to give me about 5 grams of protein. And then of course there's protein in my salad dressing, and there's protein in the greens and things like that. So strangely enough, I don't really count my protein too crazy because I know that as long as I'm eating what I'm supposed to, I'm going to get the nutrients that I need, right? So I would say don't go too crazy counting and trying to make sure that you're getting certain things. Unless, of course, you're like really new to, you know, vegan or plant-based eating and you're trying to absolutely, you know, kind of get a feel for it. But I think I've been doing this long enough now where I sort of know if I eat a certain meal about how much I'm going to get and everything. So yeah. All right. So I'm going to clean my hands off because they're sticky because of the bacon. I always see those like really funny videos on Instagram or TikTok where it's showing like, you know, you do one little thing and you like rinse off your fingers, and you do something else and then you rinse off your fingers. I feel very seen in those videos because that's definitely me. So being like at the kitchen island with no sink nearby, like our old place, it's sometimes a challenge for me because I like to rinse off my fingers a lot. But in this case, I really did need to rinse off my fingers. So yeah. All right. So I have kale that I have already washed and like massaged and all of that. I did that last night because sometimes I use kale in quite a few different recipes. So it's just nice to have kale like washed and ready to go and massaged. Definitely massage your kale because if you don't, it can be a little bitter and kind of hard to chew and things like that. So it's just helpful to massage your kale. And I'll probably use the rest of this kale tomorrow in a different dish. So I'm glad I still have a pretty good amount left. All right, so let's check on the bacon. There we go. Okay, so tempeh is done now, and I don't want them on the salad in strips, so I'm just gonna like kind of chop it up a little bit so that it can, you know, distribute well in the salad. All right, let's get that on there. Ooh. I don't know, I just feel like you can't go wrong with a nice smoky tempeh anyway. And then I have the crispy, like toasted quinoa. And I did taste it a little bit. It's kind of like garlicky, a little salty, not too salty. And it's like perfect. So I'm just gonna sprinkle some on. And like I said, this is gonna add some extra protein to the salad. And then it's sort of like replacing my croutons a little bit. Oh, that looks good. Right, and then you cannot have a Caesar salad without some parm. So I'm gonna put a little bit of vegan parm on top. Ooh, it's looking better than I thought it would. I'm telling you, started doing all this stuff for you guys, and now I'm realizing that, you know, I'm coming up with some pretty good recipes, and then just a drizzle of that dressing. Ooh, nice. And then I usually like, any salad that I make, I usually like to add a little extra pepper. So I'm just gonna put a little extra pepper. And let's give this a taste test. Like I said, if it's good, then you know where it's gonna end up. All right, let's see. A little bit of everything. Mmm. Mmm. Oh, it's good. It's pretty good. I think the only thing that I am missing, since we can't really have lemon right now, is lemon. So I would definitely add lemon to the dressing and make it a little bit brighter. It'll bring out all the rest of the flavors. This is pretty good. And with everything that's in here, I should be pretty satiated for when we go out. And then that way, like if I just want to order something off the menu that is their vegan option, I can try it out just to see if I like it. But I'm not like, you know, feeling the pressure of like, oh, I have to like make sure that I eat. So I'm gonna take my salad and enjoy it. And if there's any good vegan options there, then maybe I'll record a little bit. I'm not gonna record too much though, because like I said, this is a celebration for a friend of ours and I don't want to pull out my camera, but I'll see you guys back at dinner time. All right, so I am back from our brunch and I am starving. If I'm being honest, there wasn't much for me there, but that's okay. Because I'm gonna make my lazy mac and cheese. I like to call it a lazy mac and cheese because it's like semi-made from scratch, which is really good. And so basically all it is like my cashew base that I use for my creamy pastas, which if you've been on my site or you've watched a few other of my videos, I've made this cashew cream base before. And then what I add to that cashew base is the Miyoko's Roadhouse cheddar spread, because it has like the most cheddary flavor of really a lot of the cheeses that I found out there, like the vegan cheeses. And if I'm not mistaken, yeah, this one is cashew milk based anyway. So it's kind of like cashews on cashews. But this stuff adds so much of that like nostalgic creamy mac and cheese flavor and color to my mac and cheese that I was like, I don't know if I want to like make one that's fully from scratch. So I make my own sort of version of it, and Husbandtron loves it. I haven't had a chance to make it for anybody else yet, for, you know, to get their opinion of it. But I will say, like, Husbandtron is very specific about his mac and cheese, and he still actually like enjoys cheese. So he'll tell me the truth, like this is not good, or this is like a really good dupe. And I would say this one is a really, really good dupe. So it's the weekend. Like I said, it's Sunday, so I like to have more indulgent things on the weekend, especially after being out for hours and not really having much to eat. So having something like big and hearty and just like nostalgic is really good. So I don't always use macaroni noodles. I actually really love these cavatappi noodles. So I'm gonna use the cavatappi noodles. And I would say whenever you're making like some type of mac and cheese type thing, you don't have to use macaroni noodles, but try and use a noodle that has some holes in it so it can like suck up the, the sauce. So let me go ahead and get my noodles boiling. And then once those are all like cooked and soft and like al dente, then I will show you guys how I make my sauce. But yeah, I've been craving this for weeks now, and I'm like, yes, this is the perfect like Sunday night treat, especially like I said, after being out and not being able to eat much. So I'm gonna let this boil, and then I will show you guys how to make the sauce itself. Okay, so my noodles are all boiling or boiled, and they're ready to go. I'm just gonna leave them in the pot so that they can sort of, I don't know, finish off cooking, because I did stop them a little bit early. And I still have my pasta water in there because I'm gonna use it. But all I have here is just like some soaked cashews that I soaked this morning. And some non-dairy milk. You can pretty much pick any type of milk you want, soy milk, almond milk, whatever one floats your boat. About a cup of milk. And then I usually do about a quarter cup of nutritional yeast. I won't do too much because I already have like the cheese that I'm adding to it, or the vegan cheese. And then a little bit of apple cider vinegar, which I'm gonna do about a tablespoon. As you can see, it's time for me to get more. All right. And then I'm just gonna blend this up until it's nice and smooth. And then the cheese will actually get mixed in with the noodles to kind of help it melt because the noodles are nice and hot. But we don't need this to be hot, so yeah. All right. Click that in. All right, so noodles are all done. I've got my cashew cream all made, so I'm just gonna pour my cashew cream in. And give it a mix. And then I'm going to add in pretty much the entire thing of this because it is a lot of noodles, I will say. And the noodles are still hot. I would say do this while your noodles are still hot, if you can, because then that's gonna help the cheese sort of melt. And that's what we want. It's kind of like with the dressing, like it's gonna look all crazy at first, and then the more you mix it, the more it comes together. So I'm just gonna try and get all of it. There we go. And then I kept some of the hot pasta water. So just to like loosen everything up, I usually add like a little bit at a time. I don't tend to need the whole thing, but it does help everything kind of mix together and stay nice and creamy. There we go. And I know what you're thinking, this is like a really big pot, but Husbandtron and I will probably eat this over like the next 3 days. Whenever I make it, I just know like, just go ahead and make a really big batch because, oh, it's so good. And then I usually like try to get all of the vegan cheese out. One, because these, I mean, you know, vegan cheeses and things like that, they're not particularly cheap. So it's like, use it all up. But I will say it's like worth it to make this particular recipe. And Husbandtron's gonna be upset, but I almost forgot a really important ingredient, and that's butter. I'm gonna add a little bit of butter to it. I'm sure he's like back there shaking his head like, I told you, get everything ready that you need. I try to have everything ready for these videos, but yeah. And so I'm not gonna put too much butter. I'm gonna do about a tablespoon of butter. Just, you know, add a little fat. I mean, there's plenty of fat in this from the cashews, trust me, but it just makes it kind of silky when you add the butter. All right, this is a pretty good consistency already. I'm still seeing a little bit of the, like the cheddar still kind of together. And I apologize if you can hear me mixing the macaroni in the pot. If you know, then you know. All right. Okay, so I think that's all mixed. I will say I'm just gonna add like a tinge more. Okay. Now you notice I haven't added any salt or anything like that yet, and that's because I did boil the macaroni noodles in salted water, which you should do anyway when you're boiling any type of pasta. But I want to taste it first. Again, like before I start adding salt and things like that, I want to taste it and see what it needs. So, okay. I'm gonna pull out a fork. Oh gosh. Okay. It does need a little salt. That's okay. That's what it's here for. Usually do a little bit, mix it in, give it a taste, see how it is, see how you like it, and then taste it again. But yeah, this is salted water, so I didn't want to overdo it on that because we don't want high blood pressure and hypertension in this house, which would just be wild to me, like to be vegan and then also somehow end up with hypertension and high blood pressure. I feel like I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do if that happens, so yeah. Y'all don't understand. I'm gonna make sure I put this up on the blog for you guys. I mean, even though you just watch me make it, I'm sure you want like the full details of it. Usually what I'll do is add on some smoked paprika, not a lot. I'm not gonna add it to the pot because usually like Husbandtron likes to season his the way he wants it. I season mine the way that I want it. But paprika and some black pepper. And then sometimes, if I can find it in the store, Trader Joe's has this like truffle powder that they sell. Not all the time, but it's like a seasonal thing. But when it is in season and they do have it, I do add it to this and it is so good. So yeah, so I've been kind of gatekeeping this recipe, but I've made it, oh my God, I've probably made this recipe about 5 or 6 times already. And it's turned out perfect pretty much every time that I've made it. And so if you have access to this particular type of cheese, I know like you could be watching from somewhere where they don't sell it in your area, and I'm sorry, but if you do have access to this type of vegan cheese to put into it and make it, I highly recommend it. So yeah, okay. Well, like I said, your girl is starving because she wasn't able to eat when she went out. So I'm not gonna eat out of the pot, don't worry. I'm gonna make myself a bowl and put my seasonings on it and everything. But I'm gonna go and enjoy my delicious mac and cheese that I hope that you make too, and tell me how you like it, because I know for a fact you're gonna like it. But I'm gonna go and enjoy my dinner. Thank you so much for joining me again. And kind of joining the Quirky Pineapples family. We're growing around here. We are growing. As of today that I'm making this video, I have 812 subscribers. And when I started this journey, I want to say like last summer, and then I really started getting consistent with it back in January of this year. I think I had like, I don't know, like 50 subscribers. And then just to watch it to grow from January, right now it's May, it's the end of May. To watch it go from that double-digit number to we're almost at 1,000. And I say we because you're on this journey with me. It really like makes me feel good, and it makes me feel like what I'm doing is valuable to people. The whole reason that I started sharing vegan recipes and even started making these videos is one, you know, I wasn't feeling so great in my body, and when I changed over and started eating like this, I felt so much better. And then I watched my friends, and my friends, not all of them, but some of them have very similar illnesses, whether it's like hormonal issues and different things like that, or even, you know, pre-diabetes and different things. And my hope is that by making these things and showing how absolutely delicious these meals can be and how easy it can be and how you can get everything you need. You can get your protein, your iron, your calcium, all the stuff that you need out of these meals if you're conscious about it. And I wanted to make sure that I showed that to mostly my friends, my homegirls. And I'm hoping that they watch, and I'm hoping that they make these meals at home themselves. But I'm glad that you all have come along to join me too. So not only do I want to say thank you for watching, but thank you so much for sticking around and coming back and commenting. You guys have been so awesome. It really does warm my heart. It really is appreciated. You have no idea how much work goes into all of this on the weekly basis. And I do work a 9 to 5, and I pull myself out of bed sometimes. I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this today, but I know that it's helping. I know that I'm spreading something really joyful, hopefully, and everything. And everyone's been super positive. Like, I haven't had a negative comment yet, but hey, if you come, you come. And I'm really glad that you're here. So thank you so much. And I will see you in the next video. Bye. Waffle sandwich and the rest of my delicious coffee. And then I'm gonna see you guys back at lunchtime. Turn it off.